My name is Aaron Secakuku, and the topic that I was given to present on was the preventing substance abuse through Native American youth through culturally responsive programming. So that's going to be the focus, and the um, the part that I'm going to go through. There's a lot of photos, and my thought behind this whole thing was to give you a Hopi's perspective on the idea of having a village to raise a kid, a child. So a lot of what you're going to see today is based on the culture. There are a few religious components that factor into the upbringing of a child. So I'll share those as we go along. But for the most part, it's going to go through the cultural structure as far as Hopi is concerned and how all of that should contribute to um, the well-being of a child and the child feeling like they're part of the family, and through that the roles and responsibilities that they have going forward. So that's going to be a good portion of what's going to be covered, and then at the end we will wrap back around into the program that I oversee as the Pathways program, and how we're trying to include some of those cultural activities to serve as a diversion and kind of to some extent dictating what kind of programming we provide for those kids that attend our program. So that's going to be kind of the approach, the roadmap that I'm going to follow this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Aaron Secakuku. I'm the Pathways Youth Coordinator here at Native Americans for Community Action here in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm from the village of Bakavi, which is on the Hopi Reservation, about 100 miles northeast of Flagstaff. And so this picture you're looking at right here is from my grandma's house, and that home that you're seeing, the little rock stone, that the purpose of that is to bake our pudding, and the pudding is baked in an underground oven, and so that's where that pudding is made, and the pudding is important to us, and I'll share a little bit on that pudding once we get moving a little further on. My clan, through Hopi, we all have clan affiliations. So my clan is of the greasewood clan. It's a greasewood stick. It's a hard, kind of similar to oak. It's a hard wood. And that greasewood is used for arrows. It's used for stirring sticks. And it's used for planting sticks as well. So the greasewood stick has a lot of value to Hopi people today and in the past. The Hopi people do have a relationship with a living creature. And so that for me with the Greasewood clan is the Roadrunner. So you see in a lot of Hopi homes, you'll see two things that symbolize who they are. And one of them is, for example, in my case, one thing that you see a lot in our home or in my mom's home is a greasewood stick. And then the other part of it is pictures or items that are Roadrunner related, because those two go together. So that's a kind of symbolizing who you are as people come in to visit, and they recognize how you may be related to them. So this one here, the traditional values and visions of a Hopi. What Hopi strives to do is have a lifetime. To Hopi, one's lifetime quest is to gain strength and wisdom through prayer and education and experience. So that that in itself is Hopi has a lot of things that are tied between culture and religion, and so through that process, the education and experience grow as you get older. So that was part of where I wanted to be able to share some of that information, and again, a lot of these are points to be elaborated on later on in the presentation. And then Hopi has this word Gyeptsi. You can see it right there in the second line. And that in itself has a lot of meaning to individuals that are of the Hopi tribe, and they're able to hopefully carry through on that that idea of having respect for everything that has breath. Every living being is what Hopi talks about. So that kepti again is that form of respect for not only the elders, but also having that reverence towards our leadership within the Hopi structure. And then the Simi Nangwa, as you can probably relate to in what we're going through right now, is that willingness to bring people together and help one another in time of need. So that Simi Nangwa is one thing that really stands out when it comes to our ceremonies, because we're trying to do activities that are going to be beneficial to all. And then the Nami Nangwa, it's being able to give of yourself. A lot of our ceremonies do seek a lot of manpower, and so that Nami Nangwa is one part that is a vital part of that ceremonies, as well as the agricultural component of it. So again, being able to help out, and again, in the situation we're going through today, you can it's a good example of how we can step up and help each other. And then the other one is Ita Nangwa, one who fulfills the meaning, an initiative to take care of something without being told. So that could be anything, maybe sponsoring of a ceremony that Hopi does. And the other part is the agricultural part of it, and being able to get your farming plot or your garden plot prepared so that you have those abilities to provide for your family. So that's a lot of it. And then just the well-being and caretaking of Mother Earth is what that also speaks of. This one here, this photo here, is a picture of prayer feathers, and these prayer feathers are made by individuals that are initiated into a society. And this picture is actually from my vehicle, that these feathers are hung on my rear view mirror, and that's serving for protection. There's an eagle feather there for strength. There's a finch bird there for a beautiful life. And there's also a flicker feather attached to them. And the flicker is to outrun sickness that comes into Hopi. And that's the belief behind these prayer feathers that are made for the vehicles, as we do spend a lot of time in these vehicles traveling from place to place. So we use that as a protection to move and from one place to the other. And then again, a Hopi is one who places the society or community interests and benefits ahead of individual or personal gain. And this speaks to the humility of Hopi and being able to, again, share and help where needed. And the self-recognition or self-glorification is something that should be in the back, and not leading the mindset when you're doing something. And then Hopi is one who understands and realizes a dream. One must not only pray for his or her desires. And so during a lot of our ceremonies and our cultural events, we're looking at the longevity and the prayers or the plans, maybe like a strategic plan that we may have for our own family or the community, the village that we reside in. So those are where that would fit into the picture as to why realizing a dream and being able to follow through with that at that point. And then the other one, one who understands the Creator has provided all the necessary resources needed for all living beings to coexist. And this part factors into the idea that we are not here alone, and that we need to be able to take what we need and not take everything that we want. Hopi is an agricultural society, and so there's a lot of focus on the agricultural component of it in the form of beans and corn and so forth, but there's also things that Mother Nature provides, the spinaches, the herbs, and the medicine that people go to gather. And so when I say that we gather what we need versus what we're capable of taking, that will help us sustain our lifestyle and our culture and our practices going forward. And then the last point on here is one who understands that the greatest feeling of accomplishment and fulfilling is one's participation in social and community functions or activities, knowing that your contribution has resulted in benefits for the community as a whole. One of the things that I mentioned to the kids that we work with is that your presence is more valuable than the $20 you can put on the table and say, here's my contribution. The other part of it is being able to participate in our ceremonial processes, because the idea behind that is to bring the goodness of our hearts together to see the works of our labor when it comes time for agricultural. So that part of it, again, is being able to be present physically and with the right mindset to be able to help individuals or participate in community events that are happening within your village. And this material came from a person I will call a father at this point, Koyahong Niwa from Shamopavi. He's of the Sun Clan, and I'll explain that a little further as we get into the next couple of slides. So we'll move on. So here's the clan relations and the contributions it makes to the upbringing of a youth. Clans are made up with individuals who trace their ancestral matrilineal to a common ancestor who is part of the clan's creation story. This part of it is basically every Hopi clan that is still in existence has a migration story on how they got to the mesas and how they established the current reservation reserve that we live on. And so there's, as the migrations happen, in my case, as the Roadrunner clan, Greasewood clan, there was this abundance of the greasewood trees, greasewood bushes that were along our migration trails from the Mexico area. And so that was how Hopi was able to, or not Hopi, but our clan was able to take that on as their identity of sorts. So those relate all the way back. And then the Roadrunner comes into the picture because along that same migration, that Roadrunner kept making its appearance to the people as they were moving from the Mexico area into the current Hopi reservation that's located, again, about 100 miles northeast of Flagstaff. So that's how the clan relation comes about. And then the special duties are associated with members of each clan. The clan responsibility that we have to our village and the community on Hopi is that we, the Roadrunner Greasewood clan, are the town criers. We are the individuals that make the announcements to the village on top of the chief, the village chief's home. There's a designated home that during baby namings or other ceremonies where we make announcements that you get up on that home, and as a Greasewood person, a male, we make those announcements to our village. And then clans even determine how you act around certain individuals. So being able to now have a father that is of the Bear Strap clan, pretty much everybody that's Bear Strap and or Bear Clan are now considered your fathers. So that's where that would determine how you act around them and have that reverence and the respect towards that individual, be knowing that he's of the Bear Clan or the Bear Strap and he is now my father. So that's how that would contribute into this this third item, where the clans determine how you act around certain individuals. And then bringing a child into the world is especially important. Being able to share this new life with the community, and to some extent having a baby shower on the 20th day is a way that the village and the community acknowledges that this individual is now a part of us, and the upbringing of this child is not going to be solely the responsibility of the parents, but also as the community and the village. So again, it goes back to this idea of having a village to raise a child. So this is where I will do a little bit more explanation on the baby naming. Baby infants are important. And so this first picture here is the baby getting its hair washed on the 20th day. The 20 days, the mother and the baby are kept in isolation in a dark room as a form of bonding between mother and baby. And then there's also a time that allows the mother then to heal if there was any pain or any damage that was done during the birthing process. The shampoo that's used is the yucca root. They call it movi in Hopi, and that yucca root is pulled up and used for the purposes of washing the baby's hair. The next picture that came up is the paternal grandmother and the mother and the baby exiting the home and greeting the sunrise for the first time after the 20 days. And then following that, the paternal grandmother and the child have a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. So that's kind of what that is symbolizing. And that yellow creature there is actually a Hopi clown. And the purpose of a Hopi clown is to come and mimic their family members or an individual in the community with the hopes that by that mimicking happening in public, that individual will start to evaluate themselves and change things that will make their life more productive or become back in balance with who they are as an individual and take up those roles and responsibilities of not only upbringing of a child, but also within the culture and the religion that Hopi has. And this one goes into the mentorship. This one here is a picture of my mother and my daughter. They are making what they call somiviki. It's it's kind of like a pudding that's made out of blue cornmeal. And what they're doing right here is getting ready for a ceremony where my daughter will be sitting on the in a special seating area for them, and they'll be handing those little somivikis out to the kachinas as they are exiting the kiwas. So that if you can see it on the screen, the somiviki is about the size of your thumb. So it's a lot of tedious work, but again, that mentorship from my grandmother to my daughter, and hopefully being able to carry on those efforts is vital for my family and what we try and teach my girls. So the spiral thing there on the plate, the green one that's tied up, that's yucca that's been split. And then the items in the orange bowl is the corn husk that was harvested from our fields that are now being used. And then the pudding, the food mixtures in the red bowl. And then again, some more mentorship ideas or processes that we use. This is a social dance group. And by social, I mean it's a boy-girl dance. And this youth group, we actually took up to Big Pine, California as a cultural exchange opportunity to share the Hopi culture and the Hopi with individuals from the Big Pine Reservation and urban kids that were utilizing youth services in the city of Los Angeles at the Indian Center there. So we took this dance group up there, and we were well received, and the kids were able to participate. And as you can see, the elder individual in the background and with the red headband, he was there because his grandson is a cook with the camp. And he just impromptu said, "Hey, I have all my stuff. I'm going to jump in and sing with you guys." And he had never heard the songs that we were going to use, but you can see by his facial expressions that he's really enjoying his time and being able to participate with us during that time. And then this one here, this one's my older daughter, and obviously not only is agriculture a vital part of it, but also the introduction of the sheep. And this was done through the Spaniards when they came into the area and were trying to convert a lot of the Hopis into Catholicism. So that introduction of the sheep has actually been introduced to us back in the 1600s, if not earlier. And so today, you know, with what's going on with the grocery stores having these shortages and so forth, I feel really confident right now that, you know, if worse comes to worse, I have sheep in my backyard, and I have all kinds of dehydrated foods and corn and so forth that my family would be able to survive for, you know, at least a couple months, if not a year. So again, the preparedness of being able to have these and the work that's involved with each of these three pictures that I showed are vital to the upbringing of a child to instill some of those values. This one here is the Hopi ceremonial calendar. And as you look at it, it coincides pretty much with January and the calendar year as it goes around from your left to the right as you're looking at it. So right now we are in this this phase of Asomuyawa. And just over the weekend, we finished conducting our last night dances. And so being able to participate in those items brings you in balance. And my idea is that, and my belief is that if you participate in what this Hopi calendar is showing, you should have very, very little downtime or boredom to set in. Now, again, it's up to the individual to want to be able to participate and take part in some of these in this calendar. The agricultural part of it begins in April, where we plant the early corn as well as the beans, and those two are planted early because it takes some time to mature. And the Hopi calendar is based on the celestial cycle, full moon, if you would. So yeah, so if you look at this calendar, I mean, it's full of activities and societies and when men and women take their turns. So, and then the next picture I will warn you guys that it's a little graphic, but it also, in my opinion, contributes to the discipline of a child and the rites of passage as they continue on to the next phase. And so just about every Hopi individual, Hopi youth around the age of 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 go through this as a rites of passage. So, oops, sorry, I jumped the gun on that one. So hang tight. The ceremonial calendar again reflects the culture, but agriculture being a big component of it. So as you can see, we do have planting parties, and the first picture that came up was us planting for my uncle. He practically calls and says, "Hey, we're having a planting party. You get yourself out here and come help us." So that's where the planting party happens, and that's the initiation of that whole the agricultural season of Hopi. And then obviously the various colors of corn that we grow, and then the variety of beans. My uncle there planting, and then my daughter watering the watermelon that we were growing right outside our house in Flagstaff. The upper corner with the planting party, that's all dry farming. There's no irrigation that's involved in that. So a lot of our prayers and our ceremonies are linked into what Mother Nature can provide, and that's what we ask for is the drop, a drop of moisture, not a flood, not a abundance of rain, but just a drop enough to replenish us. If you think back and you get that first sip of water, how refreshing that is, that's how we think our plants react to just a small drop. And being that practicing the humility of not asking for too much water, but just enough to sustain life. Then here's a picture of squash, some more corn. This is actually my corn plant from this cornfield from this summer. And then one of the ways we do bake them is through steaming. So this is steamed corn that we did at our home. And the steamed corn can actually be eaten fresh out of a pit while it's warm and still moist, or you can dehydrate it and make a stew out of it later on. And you can mix them in with beans and so forth. So all of this agriculture is treating our plants like kids, and then being able to share with our kids that there is life within these plants, and the cycle of what plants and corn in particular can provide for us is, birth. They come through the ground and then they produce the good corn that we can eat, the fresh corn, and so we celebrate life. And at the end of human life and plant life, we lay our people down to rest and we thank them for being a part of that, for being a part of our life. So all that cultural teaching there is what I feel like is beneficial to the upbringing and helping our kids to appreciate what we have. So this is the picture that I was speaking about earlier, where this is the initiation process of a kid. And as you can see in that first picture with the whips, that is a bundle of yucca that those kachinas are using to whip these kids as part of a rites of passage. And there's times where if the lady or the father they're standing there feel sorry for that child, they'll be willing to take those whips for that child. And so this now contributes into another set of parents, which we know are as godfather and godmother. They're called katinna or katinyoy. So they're the ones that take us, and now they become our mentors through the next phases of our lives and on up through the kachina ceremonies that we do practice here. And then the far picture on my right, as you look at the screen, those are some of the women kachinas that come and bring gifts for the kids. And so those dolls that you see tied onto the I'm trying to remember what the English name of the plant is, but we call it whippo, and they grow around the ponds. Cattails. Cattails is the English name of it, and they grow around ponds. And basically, like I said, the kachinas are representing moisture, and so that's where that moisture is representative of them as they present those dolls, which are toys, to the kids. And so they harvest those around the ponds with the hope that the moisture will come so that our plants will have water to grow. And then on to the program that I currently oversee is the Pathways Youth Program through NACA. And so through the NACA Pathways program, we focus on substance abuse because our funding through Indian Health Service is focused on that education and serving as diversion methods for our youth. So that's our primary focus. On the other page, we provide information, education, development, and on maintaining healthy lifestyles. And that's primarily done through the cultural part of what I see and what I shared with you guys with running and physical activity and working your cornfields. That's where that healthy lifestyle, in my opinion, brings to balance some of what we do and how we can maintain a healthy lifestyle. And then the last point that I have there is the program is designed to be culturally and age appropriate. Again, a lot of times across the spectrum, we can relate closely as Native individuals that our cultures are the same. We pretty much have the same values, and that through that process, we're able to raise up kids or instill some of these work ethics and values that we have to hopefully help them maintain a good lifestyle and be in balance with who they are. The program itself, we do service projects, and then we've been able to do give the kids some opportunities. This is Jacoby Ellsbury. I don't know if many of you can know him, but he is a member of the Colorado Indian tribe and Navajo. But he was drafted by or played with the New York Yankees. And so Nike N7 gave us the opportunity to send about 30 kids down to participate in his one-day baseball softball clinic. So we were able to send them down and give them this opportunity to meet this individual that is a role model for Indian country. And then being able to do structured games with them. And then again, just having fun. The kids are having fun, and laughter, again, as in many societies, is a big component of how we respond to each other. And then this one here is an individual carding wool. This is actually wool that was sheared from my sheep. We washed it, and we were able to take that wool into the classroom and have the kids card it, and then the boys up in the corner are separating it and getting it ready to be spun. And then down on the bottom, we had dyed some, and now they're weaving with that wool. So giving those cultural educational opportunities and hands-on work. And then, as many of you guys know, fry bread. These are the kids that actually took the initiative to say, hey, let's do fry bread. And this individual on my left-hand side is in the orange was pretty good at making dough. And so she made the dough, and we had the kids stretch it out, and they came out in all different shapes and sizes. But at the end of the day, we enjoyed the fry bread with some honey and powdered sugar. So another example of what we're able to share with them culturally. And then this one here is the corn. This is just blue corn, a picture of blue corn. So the main thing that I was hoping to accomplish with this is that utilizing this information from this presentation about the culture and religion of Hopi people, I hope it helps you to understand the importance of us being connected to our culture. So again, a lot of moving parts, and I know that there's probably a lot more that I could have covered, but because of time restraints and so forth, this is really a Cliff Notes version of what Hopi is about and how we're able to utilize a village to bring up a child with the hopes that they will be productive within the society and not become, someone that's causing misfortune or misbehaving within the villages. And so this one here is a picture from our reservation headed towards Flagstaff. If you look closely, just above the NACA logo, the NACA Native Americans for Community Action logo, that's the San Francisco Peaks. And that's about 100 miles from where this picture was taken. And as you can see, the rains are dropping and the sunset is pretty. And when all things are said and done, as a parent, this is what I'm looking for, is the success of my kids. So with that, thank you, Kwakwa. And I'll take some questions at this point. I have a question here that 3 most essential pieces in which should be incorporated when we work with indigenous peoples. I think one of them is just being able to understand who they are, and then having that mutual respect for one another. And then the other part is feel free to ask questions. As an individual that has been able to extend my wings beyond, just my own people, we're willing to share, but be mindful that some of that information that is shared with you guys is privileged. So it's nothing that I would talk against sharing it publicly unless you have the permission of the individual that you've spoken with. I hope that answers the question that you had.